Please keep it going for Terry, everyone.
When I was 7 years old, my older brother would pinch my nose shut when I slept, and I'd wake up coughing, barely able to breathe. Sometimes he'd sit on my stomach and straddle me and put his knees on my arms so I couldn't move. And he'd have his head above mine and he'd tickle me to make me laugh. But I couldn't laugh, and I wouldn't laugh, because if I did and I opened my mouth, he would drizzle his spit right into it. At dinner, my brother Stephen would look around the table and say, I think I'm gonna go visit Terry's room right now. And he'd run, and I'd run after him. And I would cry, no, please don't. But I would never be faster than he was or bigger than he was. And by the time I got to my room, he would be standing there with my pillow behind his butt, and just as I entered, he'd fart loudly. Yeah, I loved him like a Stockholm Syndrome victim. But I also knew he was a 12-year-old douchebag. So that year, our parents took us to Hawaii for vacation. And one night, they took us to dinner atop one of the tallest buildings in Honolulu, where they had a revolving restaurant. And the tables were like metal spokes on a wheel, and they went out from the center of the restaurant to the windows. And I went to the window to take a view, and the waiter pulled out a chair for me, and he pointed out metal bars that went from the floor up to the height of the table, and they were like prison bars. And the bars and the window did not move, but the floor of the restaurant moved slowly in an arc. And he said, little girl, be careful. Do not put your foot in those bars. And I suppose sitting there was something of a risk, but I wasn't afraid. Because I looked out of those windows in the view of Honolulu, and I could see all the lights of the city, and I could see the dark mountains behind the buildings, and the ocean in front of the buildings where I had been swimming that day. And I'm thinking about, wow, I can't wait to tell the kids back home about this when I hear, she's just a baby. And I know it is Stephen. And he's talking to my parents. She's just a baby, she won't appreciate the view. And Stephen always gets his way, because he's my mother's favorite that year. And my face gets hot, and I can feel the tears coming. And my mother tells me to stop crying in a voice that I've always said was yelling, but she never saw it as yelling. And he comes to my seat and he says, move it. And he digs his hip right into me. And so I go to the end of the table, to Stephen's old seat, bumping his chair purposely on the way. And I am the youngest, and at 7, I am certainly no baby, but I am the youngest of 5, and there are 2 parents, so it is an odd number in my family. So I am at the table at the end, sitting across from no one, crying, thinking how unfair this is. And the rest of my family is talking about whether they'll go snorkeling the next day, and maybe they'll see a shark, and won't that be cool? And I sit there and I see a tear in the tablecloth, and I just make it bigger. And it is about right after the food is served that I hear Stephen. And he makes a noise that sometimes boys make on the playground when they make a basket, so no one pays attention at first, but it doesn't stop. It sounds like a siren, but it is worse. And my mother screams, what is it? But I already know what is happening. It's my foot, Stephen screams. His foot is caught between the bars, and he is struggling to keep up with it. And he is on the ground now, scooching his butt to keep up with his foot as it slowly moves away. And he is moaning like an animal. It is a sound that I have never heard before. Hit the emergency stop, someone yells. And within seconds, waiters surround my brother. And then my father gets in between my brother and the waiters, and he pushes the table away so hard, the glasses topple over. My father is a doctor, and he needs room to work. Then the floor moves again, but this time backwards. Good, my father says, and it stops, and he holds up a hand, and we watch, and he sort of touches Stephen's foot, and he's studying the foot and the ankle, and I'm there, and I can see the puma cat on the heel of his sneaker facing up. And on the window is dirt and sand from his treads. The foot is broken. Okay, my father says. Okay, Stephen, I want you to hold on to something, and I am there. And he grabs my hand. And it is sweaty, and it's disgusting, and it grosses me out. But I let him hold it. And very slowly, my father begins to rock my brother's foot between his thumb and his middle finger, back and forth, slowly, gently. And Stephen's eyes are tightly shut, and he's squeezing my hand. Almost there, my father says. And we're all staring at him. He's got this grim determination on. His lips have folded into a line, and he's just rocking it back and forth, almost there. And my hand is going numb. It is tingling now from the pressure. And finally, my father releases my brother's foot as if delivering a newborn. And my brother drops my fingers and brings his hands to his eyes. Now it is Stephen who is crying like a baby.
Terry, everybody.